Yuga Labs, which is the creator of Bored Ape Yacht Club, raised $450 million in a round led by Andreessen Crypto. The deck was actually leaked on the internet. And last year, they actually made $127 million in net revenue. All the revenue was actually made on the resale of Bored Apes. The vision for this company that they're selling in this deck is very much on the come, right? It's about creating this game. It's about their community. This is an interesting asset, but also a very expensive seed round to get done at $4 billion.
I do kind of wish they had leaned into the exclusivity element. It's okay to be a business for wealthy people. It's fine to say we're a 95% plus margin business selling $500,000 JPEG photos and $100,000 plots of land in the metaverse to people. There's nothing wrong with making money that way.
When you say it like that, it does sound a little ridiculous, but
it sounds a little bad by saying interesting.
If that was their pitch, I'm not sure that would resonate.
The fact they actually have this optimistic view that they can create a game where people on board, that they actually enjoy it. There's just so many conditional. When you build a product, you need to limit the number of conditional statements. And that's also the same way I approach a lot of consumer investments is what is the number of layers of conditional statements that must be true for this product or thesis to succeed? And here it's layered on like crazy. I really give it like a 1% probability of succeeding. Even if you throw money at something like all these AAA game studios that have been created over the last 2 decades, most of the games flopped. And the ones that didn't flop usually were copies of a formula that worked in the past. Like Fortnite was a copy of PUBG. World of Warcraft was a copy of a bunch of other RPGs that preceded it. I think that's probably their best bet is to just pick something that's already working and just add Bored Ape characters.
Obviously, it's insane to see a business that has grown at this rate, $127 million in net revenue, 95% profit margins in the first year. Obviously, by the definition of, is this a
business?
Good business? It's obviously a good business. The question is, will that sustain? The folks that are investing in it are saying, hey, this is worth $4 billion today, and we think we can 3, 5, 10x that. And by that definition, that's where it starts to break down for me.
Isn't selling a hope and a dream way beyond where you are today the definition of every early stage financing round? This is, I guess what I'm saying is, ultimately the level of scrutiny being applied here, I get it. It's a big dollar amount, right? I understand people feel like there ought to be more scrutiny.
If we divided everything here by 100, right, and they raised 4.5 million at a $40 million valuation, and they did 1.2 or 1.3 million in revenue last year, we would all be like, okay, that all makes sense, right?
That makes sense. That would be one of the best deals. That would be one of the cheapest deals I have seen in quite some time. To be at $1 million in revenue, raising at a 40 million post would be obscene.
Well, sure, but if it's all just wash trading revenue, then, that's the cash.
I'm sorry, suddenly money laundering revenue doesn't count?
Yeah,
interesting.
It's different. It's discounted. It's discounted at a different level. You can tell they're already clinging to something that doesn't exist, which is this future game. Clearly, they don't believe that they're going to continue to just generate transaction fees off of Bored Ape as a sustainable thing. And so, sure, reverse looking, it's a good business. Forward looking, I don't know.
If I were in their shoes, would I go out and raise capital? Probably not. If I were in their shoes, right, I would just pull money out of this.
As a founder, I don't think I would sign up for that commitment if it was producing that amount of cash in year one.
This business specifically breaks all the fundamental reasons you raise money. For the most part, you raise money because you need cash to dig a hole, hire people, and fund for future growth. These guys did not need that. These guys now have a life-changing amount of money just based on last year's free cash flow alone. So the only reason to do anything else is to see if what they started, how big it can go, how important they can be, and saying, hey, fuck it, let's go for it. Maybe we can build the next Disney of this decentralized world.
I guess what's interesting, though, is when you're looking at the Bored Apes user base, these are all high net worth individuals, effectively. No other human on the planet would spend $200,000 on a ape image. These are actually sophisticated people that are expecting upside. Previously, when you were building a game or a consumer product, you're dealing with either a very wide reach of people who are middle or lower class. You're collecting a small amount of money from everybody. Farmville is people who are being psychologically manipulated. into opening their wallets.
I like to think anybody who spends $500,000 on an ape photo is psychologically manipulated in some sense. They may not know it, but I don't know if we can call that sophistication, Nikita.
It comes as a pretty big surprise that this is happening because I used to sit next to Zuck near his office, and every Monday morning he would have all these names of Javier, you'd have Guy Rosen, Alex Schultz, all in a glass box together talking very closely. And that's how they did Monday morning meetings all the time. I think part of it is probably a retention thing. These guys have been there for like over a decade. They've made huge amounts of money. It's probably better to keep them around, even if they aren't as engaged, and let them resume their lives that they left behind to move to Silicon Valley. The regulatory requirements are also much higher. As a product manager there during my last year, like I had to get 7 to 8 lawyers to approve any product change. And that took about 30 to 40% of my day to day was just talking to lawyers and getting approvals.
It sort of feels like in a world where product velocity has to slow for a variety of external reasons, right? Like we know that there are regulatory hurdles now. We know you can't ship a feature without having 13 lawyers look at it. Is there really a need for the executives to keep their foot in the gas pedal 100%?
You're implying that working remote means that you're not going to be working as hard, which I want you to know, after kicking that hornet's nest last week and getting everyone very upset, I will tell you the zealots of remote work come out in full force when you make any comment to that end. So let me come out as a remote work stan here and say that I don't think the trade-offs of remote mean that you're not working as hard.
Wow, Logan Bartlett trying to get himself communicated into the church of remote work again.
I'm backtracking my way right back into remote work.
I'll be the heretic here. I'll be the Martin Luther of remote work. I'll tell you that's probably an offensive joke to somebody.
I think that's good. Religion's out these days. Yeah, I want more of him in the world just because he seems like such an authentic, interesting, thoughtful person that is so diametrically opposed to so many elements of the crypto community. And if you look at him on stage of ETH Denver, I mean, he literally looks like a deer in the headlights. Like, what is going on here? How did I end up here? The Tom Brady thing recently where people were calling him like crackhead or emaciated Tom Brady. And he was saying, I don't even know who Tom Brady is. He clearly has this wholesomeness about him.
Yeah, and it's interesting because obviously, to your point, he's so different from what he's created in basically every way. The Miami Starfucker Lambo experience. It is one of the greater ironies of tech that we've seen probably in the last few years.